The night had fallen like a shroud over the ancient world, casting its long, cold shadows across a landscape both beautiful and brutal. Beneath a canopy of stars faintly twinkling through the mist, the forest whispered secrets older than time itself, secrets that sent tremors of dread through the hearts of the small tribe huddled around a fragile fire. Their flickering flames struggled against the thick darkness, painting ghostly shapes on gnarled tree trunks, while beyond the circle of light, unseen eyes watched and waited. Among them was Cora, a young hunter with sharp eyes and steady hands, whose breath formed clouds in the chilly air. Her gaze pierced the darkness with a mixture of resolve and fear. Beside her, old Torm, the shaman of the tribe, murmured ancient incantations, his voice low and rhythmic, weaving protective spells born of a world where the veil between the living and the spirits was perilously thin. Nearby, Yarok, the tribe's leader, gripped his spear tightly, every muscle taut with anticipation. This was a night like no other, a night when the balance between survival and annihilation hung by the thinnest of threads. For in the darkness beyond their firelight roamed creatures monstrous and primordial, rulers of a world that predated humanity by millions of years. Dinosaurs, behemoths of scale and terror, prowled the shadowed undergrowth and moonlit clearings, their guttural roars a chilling chorus that echoed through the ancient woods. To these prehistoric humans, the night was not merely a time of rest. It was a battlefield. Survival in this primeval world demanded constant vigilance. Every sound, the crack of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the distant thump of massive footsteps, could mean the difference between life and death. The tribe had learned, through countless hard winters and bloodied encounters, that the darkness was a domain where the small and fragile were easy prey. The dinosaurs were relentless hunters, adapted perfectly to the night, with senses honed for stalking and ambushing. Yet, within this crucible of terror, humanity was forging something extraordinary, an unyielding will to survive against impossible odds. The fire they tended was their first weapon against the night, a fragile beacon of hope that kept the shadows and the monsters at bay. But fire alone was not enough. Their minds, sharp and curious, began to craft tools, weapons, and strategies born from desperation and ingenuity. Cora remembered the stories her mother told, whispers of great beasts with eyes like burning coals and jaws that could crush bone. Tales passed down around campfires, stories that became the bedrock of their collective memory, teaching caution and courage in equal measure. But for all the fear, there was also a spark of defiance. These humans would not be passive victims to extinction. They would fight, adapt, and endure. As the tribe sat circled close, the night seemed to close in tighter, the howls growing louder, nearer. Cora's hand brushed against the spear beside her, the spear tipped with flint, sharpened over weeks by patient hands. This weapon was more than stone and wood. It was a symbol of resistance, a lifeline in a world dominated by giants. She exchanged a glance with Yarok, who nodded silently, understanding the unspoken pact among them, to stand together, to face the darkness as one. Outside their small sanctuary, the forest stirred ominously. A massive silhouette slipped between the trees, a predator moving with surprising stealth for its size. The ground trembled beneath its weight as it approached the firelight. Eyes glinting, muscles coiled, it paused just beyond the flickering glow, sensing the warmth and life. It was a creature of nightmares, a relic of a lost world, and it had smelled its prey. In that frozen moment, the tribe's fears crystallized into stark reality. The night was not simply dark, it was alive with threats. Every heartbeat was a drum of war, every breath a silent prayer. Yet, in the face of such overwhelming danger, the tribe held fast, bound by the shared understanding that their survival depended not only on strength, but on cunning, courage, and the unbreakable bond between them. This was the dawn of a timeless struggle, a clash between the first humans and the titanic creatures of prehistory. It was a story of shadows and giants, of flickering fires in endless darkness, of life and death waging war beneath the stars. It was the story of humanity's earliest battle for survival in a world where the night belonged to the dinosaurs. And this is just the beginning. If you're captivated by the epic tale of mankind's fight against nature's most terrifying predators, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we'll journey deeper into the prehistoric night, uncovering the secrets, the struggles, and the indomitable spirit that shaped our ancestors in the shadow of the dinosaurs. Stay with us, because the night is far from over. Before the sun rose, before the fires were stoked and the first sharp edges of dawn cut through the darkness, the world was a place governed by shadow and immense power. To the prehistoric humans, the land was not just home. It was a realm where survival was a daily, brutal negotiation with creatures of unimaginable scale and strength. These were not merely animals. They were forces of nature made flesh, embodying the raw, untamed essence of the Earth's ancient past. Imagine, for a moment, the sprawling forests and vast plains of a time long lost. Towering ferns brushed the sky, massive cycads and towering conifers creating dense canopies where sunlight barely touched the ground. Rivers carved deep valleys, their banks alive with the chorus of life. Yet amid this verdant splendor roamed titans, dinosaurs of every shape and size, from the lumbering herbivores that shook the earth with each step to the sleek, cunning predators whose eyes gleamed with primal intelligence. For early humans, these creatures were the ultimate threat. The gap between man and beast was not just one of size, but of survival instinct sharpened over eons. Dinosaurs had evolved in a world without humans, perfecting hunting strategies, physical adaptations, and territorial dominance. They were apex predators, rulers of their ecosystems, and the night was their domain. The prehistoric humans who lived alongside them were at a tremendous disadvantage. Lacking the physical power, speed, or natural armor of their gigantic counterparts, their defense relied on intellect, cooperation, and innovation. They were small, fragile, and vulnerable in the shadow of such colossal beings. Fear was a constant companion, not just a momentary feeling but a pervasive reality that shaped every decision, every movement, every night spent awake and alert. Yet fear was not paralysis. It was the spark that ignited ingenuity. Humans began to observe, to learn, to anticipate the behaviors of the giants that stalked the dark. They noticed patterns, the times when the predators hunted, their preferred terrains, the signs they left behind in broken branches or disturbed soil. Knowledge became a weapon, an invisible shield that could mean life instead of death. At the heart of this ancient struggle was the night itself. Darkness transformed the world into a realm of uncertainty, where senses dulled and dangers multiplied. For the dinosaurs, many of whom had acute night vision or other heightened senses, darkness was an advantage. For humans, it was a terrifying unknown, a place where every shadow might conceal a killer. The tribe's leaders, like Yarok and the wise shaman Torm, understood this intimately. They recognized that fire was their first and most precious defense against the night. The flickering flames drove away smaller creatures, disrupted predators' senses, and created a psychological barrier. The crackling fire was a symbol of humanity's defiance against the primal forces that threatened to consume them. But fire alone could not ensure safety. The humans crafted weapons, spears tipped with sharpened stones, clubs reinforced with bone, and later, more advanced tools. These were not just objects but extensions of human will, the tangible expression of their desire to survive and protect their kin. The crafting of these tools required knowledge passed down through generations, a slow accumulation of wisdom born from trial, error, and the relentless urge to live. Beyond tools, humans developed social structures that emphasized cooperation and communication. The tribe was a collective unit where every member had a role, whether hunter, gatherer, caregiver, or sentry. Night watches were established, roles assigned, and signals created to warn of approaching danger. These early forms of social organization became critical in managing the threats of a hostile world. Cora, the young hunter, embodied this new breed of human resilience. Her training was rigorous, her senses attuned to the faintest disturbance. She understood that survival was as much about mental endurance as physical strength. Each expedition beyond the safety of the camp tested her skills and her courage. The stories she carried were heavy with loss, but also with hope. Hope that through adaptation, humanity could carve out a place amid giants. These early humans also developed rituals and beliefs to make sense of the dangers that surrounded them. Torm's chants and ceremonies were more than superstition. They were psychological tools to strengthen the tribe's unity and resolve. By invoking the spirits of ancestors or mysterious forces, they sought protection and meaning in a chaotic world. Such rituals helped alleviate the crushing weight of fear, transforming it into communal strength. The environment itself was an unforgiving teacher. Seasons changed, bringing cycles of abundance and scarcity. Harsh winters reduced food supplies, forcing the tribe to move, to hunt smarter, to take greater risks. The presence of dinosaurs was a constant variable, an unpredictable force that shaped migration patterns and settlement choices. Human settlements were often transient, chosen for their defensibility as much as for access to resources. Science today tells us that humans and certain dinosaur species never actually coexisted, separated by millions of years. But in this imagined primal world, where the boundaries of history blur and myth and reality intertwine, the struggle of humanity against titanic beasts captures the essence of survival itself. It is a story of tiny, vulnerable creatures standing against unimaginable odds, a testament to the indomitable spirit that would eventually shape the destiny of our species. This is the dawn of human courage, the birth of adaptation in the shadow of giants. It is a world where every breath is precious, every step perilous, and every night a battleground. If you feel the pulse of this ancient struggle and want to journey deeper into the heart of darkness where humans first faced the ultimate predators, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The story is far from over, and together we will unveil the secrets of survival in a world ruled by giants. Are you ready to step into the night? As the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness crept across the prehistoric landscape, a transformation occurred. The vibrant world of daylight, the rustling leaves, the bustling herds, the chirping of insects, faded into shadows and whispers. In this twilight realm, where human senses were dulled and uncertainty ruled, a new order emerged. It was the kingdom of the night's silent hunters, the dinosaurs. To understand the challenge facing prehistoric humans, one must grasp the terrifying mastery that these ancient creatures held over the darkness. Unlike humans, whose eyes struggled to pierce the gloom, many dinosaurs were supremely adapted to the night. Evolution had gifted them with keen senses, eyes that could detect the faintest glimmer, ears that could pick up the softest rustle, and a sense of smell that could track prey across miles. Among the most fearsome of these nocturnal predators were theropods, bipedal hunters with razor-sharp teeth and claws designed to rip flesh from bone. They were swift and relentless, masters of ambush and pursuit. Their ability to move silently through dense underbrush and their cunning intelligence made them nightmarish foes. Unlike human hunters who relied on fire and tools, these predators wielded their bodies like weapons honed by millions of years of natural selection. The apex nocturnal predator's silhouette would have loomed like a living nightmare. Their eyes, reflecting faint moonlight, were the first warning of their presence. Silent but deadly, they exploited the cover of darkness to strike with brutal efficiency. For prehistoric humans, encountering such a creature was a brush with death itself, a test of reflexes, courage, and sheer will to survive. But it was not only the large predators who ruled the night. Smaller carnivorous dinosaurs, cunning and agile, prowled the undergrowth. These pack hunters worked in groups, coordinating their attacks in ways that would challenge even the most skilled human strategies. Their howls and calls echoed through the night, sowing fear and confusion among all who heard. The herbivorous giants, too, were creatures of the night. Massive sauropods, with necks stretching like living towers, moved slowly but inexorably through the darkness. While not predators, their sheer size and power made them dangerous. A startled or threatened herbivore could crush any intruder without hesitation. For humans, even the act of crossing paths with these behemoths was fraught with peril. Their footsteps reverberated through the ground like distant thunder, a chilling reminder of nature's overwhelming force. This dominion of dinosaurs over the night created an environment where human activity was severely constrained. Fires had to be tended constantly, not only to provide warmth but to ward off creatures that shrank from the flames. Any lapse in vigilance could mean disaster. Camps were carefully chosen for defensibility, often near natural barriers or in open clearings where predators had fewer places to hide. The ancient humans' understanding of these night predators was born from necessity and experience. They learned to read the signs: broken branches, disturbed soil, scattered bones, and tracks left in the soft earth. Each clue was a story, a warning whispered through the forest. This knowledge was passed down through oral tradition, shared by elders around the fire, preserved in the language of survival. Communication was paramount. Early humans developed call systems and signals to alert the tribe of impending danger. These were not mere cries of alarm, but complex codes conveying urgency and location. Night watches rotated with discipline, and the weakest or youngest were sheltered deep within the camp's protective ring. Every individual's survival depended on the group's cohesion and alertness. The physical limitations of humans in the dark were offset by their ingenuity. Stone-tipped spears and clubs were useless if wielded blindly. Instead, humans relied on strategies that minimized exposure. They used the fire's light as a shield, forming circles of flickering defense. When attacks came, it was not always brute strength but quick thinking and coordinated effort that turned the tide. Even so, the cost was high. Prehistoric humans paid with lives lost, with wounds suffered, and with the constant psychological toll of living in the shadow of death. The night was a crucible where bravery was forged, and where stories of survival and loss were etched into the collective memory of the tribe. Beyond mere survival, these encounters shaped the human psyche. The night predators became the subjects of myth and ritual, embodying the fears and hopes of a people caught in a relentless struggle. The shaman's chants sought to tame the terror, invoking spirits to protect and guide. These rituals were more than superstition. They were communal acts of courage, affirming humanity's place in a hostile world. In this primal conflict, every moment was a balance between life and death. The dinosaurs, masters of darkness, embodied the raw, unforgiving power of nature. The humans, fragile but resourceful, embodied the flickering spark of resilience. It was a dance of survival played out in the shadows, where silence was both ally and enemy. As the stars wheeled overhead and the cold night deepened, this ancient world was a testament to the fierce determination of life to endure against overwhelming odds. It was a world where every heartbeat echoed the primal struggle. Every breath carried the weight of fear and hope intertwined. If you find yourself captivated by this haunting world of shadow and survival, and want to journey further into the heart of the prehistoric night, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The story of humanity's battle with the night's giants is only beginning, and every chapter brings us closer to understanding our deepest origins. In the engulfing darkness of prehistoric nights, where unseen dangers lurked beyond every flicker of shadow, fire emerged as humanity's most vital ally. It was more than just a source of warmth or a means to cook food. It was a beacon of life, a symbol of defiance against the relentless dominion of night predators, and the spark that would ignite the flames of human survival and ingenuity. For early humans, the discovery and mastery of fire marked a profound turning point. Unlike the silent, stealthy dinosaurs that moved with predatory grace under the cloak of darkness, fire offered humans a weapon that could push back the shadows, a radiant shield that no beast dared approach lightly. It transformed the night from a time of paralyzing fear into an interval of relative safety, a territory where humans could gather, communicate, and plan without immediate threat. The practical uses of fire were myriad. The glow of the flames extended the day, allowing the tribe to remain active long after the sun had disappeared. Around the campfire, stories were told, knowledge was passed down, and social bonds were strengthened. This communal light forged a new kind of human connection, one that bridged generations and fostered cooperation essential for survival in a hostile environment. But the true power of fire was its ability to repel. The crackling blaze was an ever-present warning to the lurking predators. Here lived a force not to be trifled with. Many dinosaurs, though formidable, possessed an instinctual aversion to flames. The fire's heat and unpredictable flicker unsettled even the boldest hunters. Camps were encircled by walls of fire, a barrier both physical and psychological, giving early humans precious time to detect and respond to approaching threats. Mastering fire was not a simple feat. It required knowledge of materials, weather conditions, and techniques to maintain a steady burn. Early humans learned to gather dry wood, create tinder from grasses and bark, and shelter flames from wind and rain. The innovation of fire-making tools, flint stones to spark, fire drills to generate heat, evolved through trial and error, revealing the remarkable capacity of humans to manipulate their environment creatively. More than survival, fire shaped human evolution. The protection it offered at night reduced vulnerability to predators, enabling humans to explore new habitats and expand their range. It provided a means to cook food, unlocking new nutritional possibilities and contributing to the development of larger brains and more complex social structures. The firelight extended waking hours, nurturing the growth of culture, language, and shared identity. The management of fire also demanded cooperation and trust. Camps required constant vigilance. Fire had to be tended through the night, often by rotating sentinels. This duty was perilous, for watchers risked becoming isolated targets in the darkness, tasked with guarding the fragile line between safety and devastation. Their role was one of immense responsibility, embodying the collective spirit that would define human communities. Fire's role extended beyond defense and survival into the realm of ritual and symbolism. It was often central to ceremonies invoking protection, strength, and connection to the unseen forces of the world. The fire's transformative power mirrored the human journey, turning raw potential into something purposeful and potent. Around its glow, early humans confronted their fears, celebrated victories, and mourned losses. Yet, fire was also a reminder of humanity's vulnerability. Without it, the night remained a realm dominated by the ancient hunters, a place of silence and shadows where death could come swiftly and without warning. The need to keep the fire alive was a constant tension, a race against time and nature's elements. Storms, dampness, and exhaustion threatened to snuff out the light, and with it, the fragile safety it provided. In the dance between darkness and flame, early humans developed a unique resilience. They learned not only to fear the night, but to challenge it, to harness its power and carve out spaces of security amid the wild. This struggle forged skills that transcended mere survival: creativity, communication, foresight, and courage. The story of fire is thus inseparable from the story of humanity itself. It is a testament to the indomitable spirit that faced down creatures larger, faster, and deadlier. It reveals the profound relationship between humans and their environment, a dialogue of adaptation and mastery that set the stage for future generations. If the flicker of ancient fires intrigues you, if you sense the primal power hidden in their glow, stay with us. Like, share, and subscribe as we continue to explore the nights when survival hung in the balance, and discover the ways early humans wielded fire not just as a tool, but as a weapon against the dark. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the world was swallowed by night's inky veil, prehistoric humans faced a terror unlike any by day, a world ruled by predators of the dark. In the absence of sunlight, the familiar transformed into a realm of peril, where every rustle and distant howl could signal a deadly encounter. The night was not merely a period of rest. It was a battlefield where survival was uncertain and the stakes were life itself. For early humans, the threat was omnipresent and unrelenting. The ecosystems of the prehistoric world were rich with creatures evolved to thrive under moonlight and starlight. Among them, dinosaurs, some small and swift, others massive and merciless, were masters of the night. Their senses finely tuned to low light, these predators hunted with a terrifying combination of stealth, power, and patience. Unlike the diurnal beasts of the day, nocturnal predators leveraged darkness to conceal their movements, turning the absence of light into a strategic advantage. Eyes that glowed faintly in the gloom, silent footfalls on leaf litter, and an uncanny ability to detect the faintest sound or scent made them formidable hunters. For early humans, whose own night vision was limited, the cover of darkness leveled the playing field dangerously against them. The risks posed by these predators extended beyond direct attacks. The psychological weight of constant vigilance and fear was immense. To exist in a world where danger could emerge unseen from the shadows imposed a profound strain on human nerves and social dynamics. Nighttime was when imaginations ran wild, stories of spirits and monsters were born, and the seeds of myth were sown. Among the most feared threats were the smaller, more agile carnivores, dinosaurs such as dromaeosaurs, with their swift reflexes and razor-sharp claws. Their hunting style was predicated on speed and surprise, striking with lethal precision before retreating into the darkness. Larger carnivores like the massive allosaurids prowled less frequently by night, but posed an existential threat when they did, capable of tearing apart even the strongest defenses. Humans' adaptations to this peril were multifaceted. Physical adaptations like increased nighttime alertness and acute hearing evolved over countless generations. But it was social and technological innovation that made the greatest difference. Fire, as explored earlier, was the cornerstone of defense, but it was supplemented by watch systems, early warning calls, and protective encampments designed to repel or deter attacks. The night was also a time of careful movement and strategic caution. Humans learned to minimize noise, avoid open spaces, and maintain constant vigilance over their surroundings. These behaviors were not instinctive, but cultivated through shared experience and storytelling. The knowledge of where and when danger was greatest, how predators hunted, and what signs to watch for became communal wisdom, passed orally from elder to youth, forming the bedrock of survival culture. Yet, despite all precautions, the night claimed its toll. Archaeological evidence reveals countless instances where humans fell prey to nocturnal predators. Fractured bones, puncture wounds, and telltale marks on fossilized remains speak to desperate struggles in the dark. These encounters were brutal and swift. Often, victims had little chance to flee or defend themselves. Such tragedies reinforced the necessity of community and vigilance. The impact of nocturnal dangers extended beyond immediate survival. It shaped human psychology, culture, and even evolution. Fear of the dark led to the creation of symbolic rituals intended to ward off unseen evil, ceremonies conducted around fire to honor protective spirits or gods. This interplay of danger and belief illustrates the deep human need to impose meaning on the unknown, to transform fear into control through ritual and storytelling. Nighttime also became the crucible of cooperation. The communal watch, where individuals took turns guarding the fire and the camp's perimeter, was a social innovation rooted in trust and mutual dependence. This collective responsibility strengthened bonds and established patterns of shared labor and protection that would become essential for the development of complex societies. Moreover, the pressure of nocturnal predation likely influenced early human social structures and mobility patterns. Campsites were chosen with care, proximity to water, natural barriers, and resources balanced against the need for defensibility. Groups remained close-knit during vulnerable hours, huddled together for warmth and protection, while hunting and foraging were generally reserved for daylight. The shadow of night predators also pushed humans to innovate in weaponry and tactics. The development of spears, clubs, and later, more sophisticated tools, was driven by the need to counter swift, silent attackers. Defensive structures such as thorn fences or pits may have been early attempts to secure the camp perimeter. These innovations reveal a dynamic relationship between predator and prey, a constant arms race in adaptation and counter-adaptation. Perhaps most compelling is the way nocturnal threats shaped human identity and worldview. The dichotomy of light and dark took on symbolic weight: fire as the triumph of order over chaos, civilization over wilderness. Stories of night monsters and heroic defenders became foundational myths, reflecting the universal human experience of confronting and overcoming fear. As we peer back into this shadowed world, the stark reality emerges. Night was a crucible where early humans were forged, tested by relentless threats, challenged to develop cooperation, innovation, and resilience. It was a time when the fragile light of human ingenuity battled the ancient darkness of primeval predators, a contest that would shape the destiny of our species. If this glimpse into the perilous nights of prehistoric humans stirs your curiosity and awe, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we'll continue to illuminate the darkest corners of our ancient past and discover the profound struggles that defined human survival. The night story is far from over. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the relentless dance between predator and prey in the chapters ahead. The crackling fire stood as humanity's first true beacon against the consuming darkness of night, a fragile yet potent weapon wielded not just against cold and shadow, but against the relentless threat of prehistoric predators. In an age when dinosaurs still roamed, and night was a time of lurking dangers, fire transformed the human experience of darkness from vulnerability to defiance. The mastery of fire was not an accidental discovery, but a revolutionary leap forged through curiosity, observation, and necessity. Early humans learned to coax flame from kindling, to tend its life with care, and to use its light and heat as shields against a hostile world. This elemental mastery marked a turning point, a defining threshold between mere survival and the emergence of culture, community, and cognition. Fire's power extended far beyond the physical. Its glow became a gathering point, a hearth around which stories were told, knowledge passed, and social bonds strengthened. But above all, it was a vital defense, an active deterrent to predators that feared its unnatural brilliance. The very presence of fire could repel the stealthy hunters of the night, keeping them at bay with walls of flickering light. This defensive use of fire was learned through bitter trial and error. Each night brought a precarious balance between watchfulness and rest. Groups that failed to maintain their flames or protect their encampments risked deadly encounters, attacks that could scatter families, destroy food stores, and end lives in a blur of violence and fear. The archaeological record reveals traces of ancient hearths, charred bones, and burnt tools, telling silent stories of nights fought and won around firelight. But fire was not just a passive barrier. It was a tool for shaping the environment. Early humans used it to create fire breaks, deliberately burning patches of vegetation to keep large predators away from their camps. Controlled burns could flush out prey, drive animals toward traps, or alter landscapes to favor human hunting strategies. This manipulation of the natural world through fire was a profound expression of emerging human agency and intelligence. The social implications of fire mastery were equally transformative. The need to maintain a constant flame during the night led to organized watch systems, with individuals taking turns to tend the fire and guard against threats. This fostered a sense of collective responsibility and trust that became the foundation for complex social cooperation. Night watches required communication, coordination, and an awareness of each member's role, elements crucial to the evolution of social hierarchies and governance. Moreover, firelight extended human activity beyond the constraints of daylight. Tasks such as tool-making, food preparation, and social interaction could continue into the night, expanding the productive and cultural capacities of early communities. The boundaries of human life stretched, illuminated by the dancing flames, inviting innovation and exchange that would define the trajectory of civilization. Technological advancements in fire-making tools further enhanced this advantage. The development of flint striking, bow drills, and eventually more reliable methods for spark generation made fire accessible and portable. Humans could carry their light into new territories, conquer new environments, and reduce the risks of venturing into the unknown. This mobility contributed to their remarkable success across diverse landscapes and climates. Yet, fire's protection was not infallible. The fiercest predators, undeterred by flames alone, required humans to combine fire with weapons, tactics, and sheer vigilance. Roars and cries pierced the night as humans fought side by side, wielding spears and clubs, defending their flickering sanctuaries. These battles, often desperate and brutal, underscore the precariousness of human survival in a world shared with colossal beasts. The psychological impact of fire on early humans cannot be overstated. It offered not just safety, but a sense of control over an unpredictable world. The glow of the hearth represented hope and community against the alien vastness of darkness. It nurtured imagination, spawning myths and rituals centered on flame, symbols of life, power, and the eternal struggle against chaos. Religious and spiritual practices intertwined with fire usage, as early humans sought divine favor or protection through offerings and ceremonies conducted at the hearth. Fire became sacred, a mediator between humans and the forces that governed existence. This sanctification of flame helped to weave fire into the very fabric of human identity and culture. As centuries passed, the mastery of fire grew in sophistication and significance. It remained central to human survival and social life, evolving alongside tools, language, and societal structures. The fire was a testament to human ingenuity, the first spark of civilization lighting the path out of darkness and into history. If this exploration into the vital role of fire in prehistoric survival ignites your fascination, please like, share, and subscribe. Together, we'll continue to uncover the profound ways early humans transformed their world, carving light and life from the shadowed wilderness. The story of fire is the story of humanity's defiant stand against the night, a flame that burned through fear and uncertainty, kindling the enduring spirit of survival. Stay with us as we journey deeper into the challenges and triumphs of our ancient ancestors, battling the dark and the dinosaurs alike. As twilight bled into darkness, the prehistoric world transformed into a realm ruled by the unseen and the dangerous. For early humans, the night was a gauntlet of primal fears and deadly challenges, an arena where survival hinged not only on strength but on strategy, cunning, and cooperation. The looming presence of dinosaurs and other apex predators made every moment in the dark a high-stakes battle, where failure meant death. Human ancestors, small and vulnerable compared to the giant reptiles that stalked the night, could not rely on brute force alone. Instead, they cultivated tactics born of acute observation and hard-earned experience. They studied the habits of their foes, learning the rhythms of hunting and feeding that governed the predators' nocturnal lives. This knowledge formed the bedrock of their defensive strategies and hunting practices, shaping the contours of early human survival. One critical adaptation was the development of coordinated group defense. Humans, unlike many solitary predators, thrived in social units. At night, these groups became living fortresses, communities bound by mutual protection and shared vigilance. The communal campfire was the heart of this defense, its light a shield and signal of presence. But beyond flames, humans devised sentinel systems, assigning individuals to stand watch while others rested. These sentries listened intently for the subtle sounds of approaching danger, the rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig, the low growl of a predator prowling near. The sentry's role was pivotal. Their warnings could mean the difference between a peaceful night and a catastrophic attack. Silence and stillness became tools, used strategically to avoid drawing unwanted attention. When a threat was detected, signals, whether vocal calls, claps, or other noises, rallied the group to readiness, allowing warriors to arm themselves and position for defense or retreat. Communication among group members evolved to become more sophisticated, relying on a repertoire of sounds and gestures adapted for the dark. This early proto-language enabled rapid coordination, organizing defensive formations or planning escape routes. The development of such communication represents one of humanity's first collective technologies, a social invention as crucial as fire or tool-making. Hunting tactics also adapted to nighttime dangers. Prehistoric humans learned to exploit the very behaviors of their predators. Many large carnivores, including some dinosaur species, were ambush hunters, relying on stealth and surprise. Humans countered with light, noise, and mobility. They used firebrands, torches made from burning wood, to illuminate hunting grounds and scare off competitors. Sharp spears, clubs, and traps allowed them to confront or capture prey without close, risky encounters. In some regions, humans employed what modern scholars call drive hunting. This tactic involved coordinated efforts to flush animals from dense cover into open spaces or natural traps. At night, this required exceptional planning and timing, as the risk of attracting predators was high. Yet, successful drives yielded meat crucial for survival, justifying the peril. Moreover, humans learned to read the terrain like a living map. They chose encampments with natural defenses, steep cliffs, rivers, or dense thickets that restricted predator movement. They avoided predictable patterns that predators could exploit, varying the locations of their camps and hunting routes. This mobility was not random, but a calculated strategy to minimize vulnerability. The constant threat of night predators also shaped human psychology and culture. Fear was a powerful teacher, instilling caution and respect for the natural world's dangers. But from fear came rituals, ceremonies and stories that codified lessons, reinforced group cohesion, and imposed order on the chaotic unknown. These narratives framed the night not merely as a time of terror, but as a domain where humans, through courage and cunning, could assert mastery. Archaeological findings reveal these cultural adaptations. Sites from various prehistoric periods show evidence of carefully arranged hearths, defensive structures, and spatial organization within camps that suggest deliberate efforts to mitigate nocturnal risks. Tools specialized for hunting and defense indicate a constant refinement of tactics in response to evolving threats. The psychological resilience developed through facing night dangers contributed to humanity's broader evolutionary success. The ability to endure stress, maintain vigilance, and cooperate under threat fostered traits that would become cornerstones of human nature: empathy, foresight, and strategic thinking. Yet, the nocturnal world remained unforgiving. The evolutionary arms race between humans and predators pressed onward, each adaptation met with countermeasures. Predators evolved keener senses, silent movement, and tactics of their own. The balance of power fluctuated with every moonrise and dawn, a relentless cycle of challenge and response. Through it all, early humans persisted, their survival stories etched not just in bone and stone, but in the very fabric of human identity. They turned night from a time of despair into a proving ground for ingenuity and unity. Every successful defense, every successful hunt, was a small victory against extinction, a testament to the indomitable will to live. If this journey into the hunter's night has stirred your curiosity, remember to like, share, and subscribe. There are many more stories of human courage and innovation waiting to be uncovered, tales of battles fought in the shadows, and victories carved in the dark. The night is long and dangers abound, but so too is the enduring spirit of humanity, a beacon that has never been extinguished. In the encroaching darkness of prehistoric nights, fire was far more than warmth or a source of light. It was a beacon of life, a shield against death, and a weapon against the terrifying creatures that roamed the shadows. For early humans, mastering fire was not merely a technological breakthrough. It was a profound turning point that reshaped the relationship between humanity and the dangerous night world ruled by dinosaurs and other predators. The discovery and controlled use of fire changed everything. It extended the day, pushing back the blackness that concealed unseen threats. Flames flickering in the night created a circle of safety, a sacred space where humans could gather, share stories, and plan without the immediate terror of attack. The primal glow became a symbol of human presence and power, signaling to predators that the ground was no longer theirs alone. Fire served as a deterrent, a simple yet effective defense. Predators, evolved over millions of years to hunt by stealth and ambush, were repelled by the unpredictable flicker and heat of flames. The crackle of burning wood and the smoke rising into the sky acted as natural alarms and barriers, disrupting predator behaviors and territory marking. Early humans learned to cultivate fires not just in central hearths, but also as perimeter defenses, lighting torches or creating fire lines that discouraged nocturnal approaches. The preparation and maintenance of fire demanded skill, cooperation, and constant vigilance. Gathering fuel was no simple task. Dry wood had to be collected and stored carefully, often from distant areas to avoid clearing the immediate surroundings. Fire-making techniques evolved, from striking flint stones to more advanced methods of friction, requiring knowledge passed down through generations. The mastery of fire-making was a communal achievement, embedded deeply in the social fabric. Fire also enabled humans to transform their environment in subtle yet powerful ways. Controlled burns were used to clear underbrush, reduce hiding places for predators, and encourage the growth of edible plants and game animals. This early form of environmental management showcased human agency and foresight. Humans were no longer passive victims, but active participants in shaping their world. Nighttime hunting was revolutionized by fire's illumination. Torches and primitive lanterns allowed humans to track prey in the darkness, to flush animals from dens and burrows, and to defend themselves during risky nocturnal encounters. The dance of light and shadow became a tool of psychological warfare, confusing and intimidating prey and adversaries alike. Beyond its practical functions, fire took on profound symbolic and ritualistic significance. It was a sacred element, linked to life, renewal, and protection. Around the fire's glow, early humans gathered not only to survive but to create culture, telling stories, passing down myths, and forging social bonds. These shared moments fostered group identity and resilience, strengthening the collective spirit necessary to face the harsh realities beyond the light. The archaeological record preserves echoes of these fiery rituals. Charcoal layers, burnt bones, and traces of hearths in ancient campsites testify to the centrality of fire in prehistoric life. Artifacts suggest that fire was used with intentionality and care, positioned strategically within settlements for maximum protective effect. Fire's role extended into conflict as well. Early humans wielded it as a weapon, using flaming projectiles or fire to drive off attackers, both human and animal. The ability to create and control fire provided a psychological edge, projecting power and deterrence even against larger, more physically imposing foes. Yet fire was also a double-edged sword. Its dangers were well understood. Accidental burns, forest fires, and smoke inhalation posed constant risks. The careful balance of fire's benefits and hazards required knowledge, discipline, and respect, traits that became hallmarks of human adaptation. The mastery of fire during the prehistoric night was not a solitary achievement but a cornerstone of human evolution. It underpinned advances in technology, social structure, and culture. By holding the darkness at bay, humans carved out a niche where intellect and cooperation could flourish, setting the stage for future developments that would redefine their place on Earth. If this glimpse into the primal power of fire has ignited your interest, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The story of human survival in the shadow of dinosaurs is one of ingenuity and determination, a saga where every flicker of flame represents a victory over extinction. As we continue this journey, remember, fire was the spark that illuminated the path from vulnerability to mastery, from fear to hope. It was the ancient light that guided humanity through the darkest nights, a testament to the enduring flame of survival burning within us all. As dusk settled and the last hues of daylight slipped beneath the horizon, prehistoric humans faced a world transformed. The comforting shapes and sounds of the day gave way to an eerie stillness, punctuated only by the distant calls of creatures adapted to the dark. The night was not merely a time of rest, but a domain of constant peril, where invisible threats lurked and patience turned to fear. Nighttime was when many predators found their strength. Adapted to low light and relying on heightened senses, creatures that coexisted with early humans evolved strategies to exploit the cover of darkness. Their eyes, finely tuned to catch the faintest glimmer, their hearing acutely sensitive to the slightest movement, made the night a hunting ground of deadly efficiency. For humans, this invisible danger demanded vigilance beyond the physical. The dark masked predator's approach, making detection a challenge of sensory attunement and instinct. The lack of vision heightened every other sense: sound, smell, touch, and humans developed acute awareness, often sensing the approach of danger before it was fully revealed. Among the most fearsome of these nocturnal threats were the large theropod dinosaurs, creatures whose keen night vision and silent stalking made them masters of the dark. Their presence instilled a primal terror, a reminder that the night was their kingdom. The soft rustle of leaves, a sudden snap of a twig, or an inexplicable chill could signal the close proximity of such a hunter. But it was not only dinosaurs that threatened prehistoric humans. Smaller, stealthier predators, some pack hunters, others solitary stalkers, prowled the shadows. The air was thick with scents and sounds humans could scarcely decipher, each one a potential warning or deception. The survival of a group often hinged on the ability to interpret these subtle cues. The human response to this silent threat evolved over countless generations. Beyond physical weapons and fire, early humans cultivated an intricate web of social behaviors to guard against the unseen. Watchmen were posted at the edges of camps, eyes scanning the darkness, ears straining for unusual noises. Nighttime shifts allowed some to rest while others stood ready, a shared vigilance that was both necessity and a social contract. This heightened awareness influenced every aspect of prehistoric life. Movement after dark was minimized, paths were chosen carefully, and sound was managed with caution. The quiet rustle of footsteps, whispered communication, and the avoidance of unnecessary noise became a language of survival. Humans also learned to read the signs left by predators: disturbed foliage, fresh tracks illuminated by moonlight, scent marks, and even the patterns of prey behavior. This knowledge, accumulated and transmitted orally, became a vital part of the community's collective wisdom. The threat of invisible dangers also shaped early humans' relationship with the landscape itself. Campsites were chosen not only for access to resources but for natural defenses: rock outcroppings, open fields, or bodies of water that could hinder stealthy approaches. Defensive structures, rudimentary but effective, were built using thorny branches or sharpened stakes to create barriers where the eye could not see. Over time, the psychological burden of living with unseen threats influenced human cognition and culture. Stories and myths arose from the fears and experiences of darkness. These tales, told around fires, warned of the creatures that hunted unseen and the consequences of wandering alone at night. The narratives served not just to entertain but to instruct, embedding crucial survival lessons in memorable forms. The darkness was not only a physical space, but a mental frontier where the unknown stirred primal fears and imagination. It was a realm where the boundary between reality and the supernatural blurred, giving rise to beliefs that would echo through human history. The night was the canvas for dreams and nightmares alike, shaping early spirituality and identity. Yet, despite the dangers, the night also held opportunities. The veil of darkness could conceal human movement, enabling stealthy hunting or evasion. Groups that mastered the art of night travel and defense gained strategic advantages, accessing resources and territories unavailable to those bound by daylight. This delicate balance, between fear and opportunity, visibility and invisibility, safety and danger, defined the prehistoric human experience. It fostered resilience, ingenuity, and social cohesion. Living with the silent threat of the night forged a species uniquely adapted to endure and thrive against overwhelming odds. If this glimpse into the shadowed world of prehistoric nights has captivated you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Understanding the invisible dangers our ancestors faced deepens our appreciation for their courage and adaptability, traits that still resonate within us today. As we move forward in this saga, remember, the silent threat of the night was as much a test of mind as body, shaping the human spirit to navigate not just the physical wilderness but the mysterious depths of fear and survival itself. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, prehistoric humans faced a world rapidly swallowed by darkness, a world where dangers lurked unseen and the night was a realm of uncertainty and peril. In this enveloping gloom, one ancient force stood as humanity's greatest ally and fiercest weapon against the unknown: fire. The flickering glow of flames not only illuminated the shadows but also kindled hope, safety, and the possibility of mastery over a hostile night. The relationship between early humans and fire was no mere convenience. It was a profound turning point in the story of survival. Fire transformed the night from an impenetrable shroud into a manageable environment where humans could assert control. The crackling blaze cast dancing shadows on the faces of watchful sentinels, serving as a beacon that deterred prowling predators, both dinosaurian and otherwise. The use of fire was both practical and psychological. The warmth of the flames warded off the biting chill of night, a critical comfort in environments where cold could sap strength and dull senses. More importantly, fire's light exposed the dark's hiding places, disrupting the stealth of predators who depended on surprise. Even the scent of smoke could repel or confuse many creatures sensitive to unfamiliar odors, providing an invisible protective barrier around human encampments. Crafting and maintaining fire required skill, knowledge, and social coordination. Early humans learned to preserve embers from day to night, carefully guarding the precious flame that could mean life or death. The discovery of reliable fire-starting techniques, whether by striking flint, rubbing wood, or capturing natural sparks, marked a leap forward in technological and cultural evolution. This mastery over fire was not just about survival. It was about empowerment. Firelight gatherings became more than mere protection. They evolved into centers of community, communication, and cultural development. Around the hearth, stories were shared, knowledge passed, and bonds forged. The night's dangers may have forced humans into close proximity, but the flames created a space where trust and cooperation thrived, knitting individuals into cohesive groups capable of confronting threats greater than themselves. These communal fires also served as training grounds where younger members learned the skills necessary for nocturnal vigilance and defense. Elders taught the signs of danger in the dark, the subtle shift of wind carrying the scent of predators, the faint rustle of leaves betraying unseen footsteps. Through firelit instruction, vital survival knowledge was etched into the collective memory of the group. The strategic placement of fires around camps was no accident. Circles of flame delineated safe zones and patrol routes, establishing controlled environments where human senses were extended. Some groups innovated with multiple smaller fires rather than a single large blaze, reducing smoke visibility to distant foes while maintaining sufficient illumination to detect nearby movement. This balance between concealment and defense reflected a growing sophistication in adapting to the challenges of night. Beyond mere defense, fire was a tool for hunting and gathering after dark. With torches or controlled fires, humans could flush out prey hiding in thickets or burrows, turning night into an opportunity rather than a limitation. The glow also attracted insects and small animals, providing supplementary food sources when daylight hours were short or resources scarce. Fire's role in prehistoric night survival also intersected with spiritual and ritual dimensions. The flames were seen as sacred, symbols of life, protection, and connection to the forces of nature. Many early cultures attributed magical properties to firelight, believing it could ward off evil spirits or summon protective ancestors. These beliefs reinforced the practical importance of fire with a profound cultural significance that shaped human identity and worldview. Yet, fire was not without its dangers. An uncontrolled blaze could consume precious resources or expose the group to unwanted attention. Maintaining vigilance over the flames required constant effort, especially in windy or dry conditions. The careful balance of nurturing fire while avoiding catastrophe underscored the precariousness of prehistoric life, where every element demanded respect and mastery. The integration of fire into the human toolkit fundamentally shifted the nocturnal landscape. It turned the night from a time of paralyzing fear into a space where calculated risks could be taken, where survival strategies could be enacted with a measure of confidence. This fiery advantage contributed to the expansion of human activity into new environments and hours previously dominated by nocturnal predators. Reflecting on fire's critical role reveals the depth of human ingenuity and adaptability in the face of relentless threats. It was not just a physical shield but a symbol of human resilience, the light against darkness, the warmth against cold, the spark of hope amidst uncertainty. If this exploration into the ancient power of fire has ignited your curiosity, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The story of how our ancestors harnessed flame to battle the dangers of night deepens our appreciation for the timeless human struggle against nature's harshest challenges. As we move deeper into this narrative, remember, every flicker of flame that chased away the dark was a small victory in a larger war for survival, a testament to the unyielding spirit that defines us all. As twilight deepened into the inky blackness of night, the prehistoric world transformed into a realm where survival hinged on keen senses, swift decisions, and unyielding courage. The great game of hunter and hunted took on new dimensions under the cloak of darkness. For early humans and the colossal creatures that roamed alongside them, dinosaurs and other prehistoric beasts, the night was a battlefield, a place where instincts sharpened and the fragile balance between life and death hung by a slender thread. Humans, still evolving in both mind and body, faced a daunting challenge: how to survive when the sun's warmth and light faded, and the land became ruled by creatures built for the shadows. Predators such as massive theropods, ancient cousins to the feared Tyrannosaurus rex, and stealthy smaller hunters prowled the dark, using heightened senses to track prey. Yet, our ancestors, equipped with evolving intelligence, began to turn the tables through the development of night hunting strategies that combined ingenuity, cooperation, and an intimate knowledge of their environment. The silent approach of a predator was met by the flicker of torchlight and the rhythmic beat of drums or calls, designed both to communicate within the group and to intimidate or confuse attackers. Early humans learned to use their voices, movements, and crafted tools to disrupt the nocturnal advantage of their foes. This psychological warfare, an interplay of sound and shadow, became as critical as physical weapons in the nocturnal struggle. Cooperation was the cornerstone of human nighttime survival. Individuals did not face the dark alone. Instead, they formed tightly knit groups, establishing watches and patrols that circled their encampments like living sentinels. These sentries shared an unspoken bond forged in the crucible of survival, knowing that a lapse in vigilance could mean disaster. By rotating shifts and communicating with subtle signals, these early humans extended their senses beyond the limits of individual perception. The hunt itself transformed under the moon's pale glow. Whereas daytime hunting relied on sight and the element of surprise amid the sunlit terrain, nighttime stalking demanded acute hearing, smell, and a careful reading of environmental cues: rustling leaves, broken branches, the faintest shifts in air. The prey animals of the era were not mere bystanders, but active participants in this nocturnal dance, adapting their own behaviors to avoid becoming dinner. Some became more nocturnal to escape daytime hunters, others sought dense cover or migrated to safer grounds. Humans leveraged tools to amplify their advantage. Spears tipped with sharpened stone, torches to illuminate or scare, and carefully constructed traps allowed smaller groups to face larger and more powerful predators. Archaeological evidence suggests that fire-hardened wooden implements and early projectiles were used to strike from a distance, minimizing direct confrontation. This tactical innovation reduced risk and increased the chances of success in hunting or defense. Tracking was another critical skill. Nighttime trackers honed their ability to interpret the faintest signs: a broken twig, disturbed soil, or subtle scent trails left by prey or predators alike. They read the landscape as a living map, understanding how moon phases, wind direction, and seasonal changes influenced animal movements. This deep ecological knowledge was essential not only for survival, but for planning expeditions and selecting safe pathways through predator-rich territories. Prehistoric humans also developed a nuanced understanding of predator behavior and patterns. By observing the habits of creatures that hunted under the cover of night, they identified safe zones, areas less frequented by dangerous animals or places where natural features provided refuge. Rocky outcrops, dense thickets, and riverbanks became natural sanctuaries where humans could rest and regroup. These refuges were often guarded with makeshift barriers or watchfires, turning the landscape itself into a defense. The symbiotic relationship between humans and fire played a pivotal role in these strategies. Fires were placed strategically not only within camps, but also along likely approach routes, creating barriers of flame and smoke that predators hesitated to cross. Beyond physical deterrence, the psychological impact of firelight and noise disrupted the confidence of stalking beasts, giving humans precious seconds to prepare or flee. Interestingly, evidence suggests that some prehistoric humans may have exploited the behaviors of certain dinosaur species by using fire and noise to herd prey toward natural traps or ambush points. Such coordinated efforts reveal a level of planning and communal effort that challenges earlier assumptions of early human primitiveness. The nighttime world was not solely a place of danger and defense. It also offered opportunities. Certain prey species, more vulnerable or easier to hunt under the veil of darkness, became targets during these hours. Night hunting allowed humans to exploit niches and resources unavailable during the day, expanding their dietary options and improving their chances of survival during lean times. However, the balance was precarious. A single misstep, an untimely noise, a flicker of flame too bright, a moment of distraction, could provoke deadly encounters. The darkness magnified every risk, but it also honed human senses and decision-making. Over generations, this relentless pressure shaped the cognitive and social evolution of our species, fostering heightened awareness, communication, and cooperation that would become hallmarks of human resilience. In this shadowed theater, every night was a test, every survival a triumph. The lessons learned in these ancient struggles echo through time, reminding us of the raw interplay between life and death that shaped the dawn of humanity. The nocturnal strategies crafted in the face of dinosaurian threats were not just about evading extinction, they were the roots of human ingenuity and solidarity. If the unfolding tale of how our ancestors faced the perilous night captivates you, remember to like, share, and subscribe. These stories of courage and adaptation illuminate not only our past, but also the enduring spirit that continues to define us. As the darkness lifts and the firelight fades with the rising sun, the echoes of those shadowy battles linger, a testament to the timeless dance between predator and prey, fear and survival, darkness and light. As the world slipped into darkness, the harsh reality of survival in prehistoric times demanded more than individual grit. It required the forging of bonds deeper than mere kinship. In the unforgiving night, where danger lurked unseen and every sound could signal death, early humans began to recognize a fundamental truth: strength lay in unity. The communal fires that dotted the ancient landscapes were not merely sources of light and warmth. They were the crucibles in which trust, cooperation, and shared purpose were forged. The night was a realm where solitary existence meant vulnerability, yet the act of coming together was fraught with complexity. Communities had to balance competing needs, resource sharing, protection, and social cohesion, while managing the ever-present threat of predators whose hunger was as fierce as their own. Over time, these challenges gave rise to the first intricate social structures, a network of alliances built on mutual reliance and a collective will to endure. Around the flickering flames, stories were exchanged, accounts of narrow escapes, cunning hunts, and the terrifying roars of beasts that haunted their dreams. These narratives were not mere entertainment, but vital transmissions of knowledge, coded warnings, and strategies for survival. Elders, respected for their experience and wisdom, became the keepers of this oral tradition, guiding younger generations through the labyrinth of dangers that nighttime brought. Trust, however, was hard-won. The night magnified tensions and fears. Suspicion could easily fracture fragile groups. Thus, rituals and shared practices evolved to reinforce bonds. Communal feasts following successful hunts served to redistribute food equitably, cementing social ties and reaffirming the group's unity. The act of sharing meat, hard-won through cooperation, was more than sustenance. It was a pledge of solidarity, a promise that none would face the darkness alone. The arrangement of watch duties around camps was a practical necessity, but it also symbolized the deeper commitment each member had to the collective. Those assigned to guard against nighttime threats bore a heavy burden, standing vigil against the unknown, their senses sharpened and their hearts steeled. Their watchful eyes scanning the horizon became the group's lifeline, a living barrier between safety and chaos. Beyond protection, cooperation extended into the realm of offense. Coordinated hunting parties ventured into the night, relying on intricate plans honed through shared experience. These expeditions were not mere acts of desperation, but carefully orchestrated operations that capitalized on each member's strengths. Some tracked silently through dense underbrush, their movements fluid and precise. Others waited patiently at strategic points, ready to strike at the moment prey was funneled into their path. The development of rudimentary signals, calls, whistles, and gestures, enabled these parties to communicate without betraying their presence to predators or prey. Such non-verbal communication demanded a high degree of attentiveness and trust, reflecting an early form of teamwork that would become a cornerstone of human success. These methods reveal a cognitive leap, where individuals transcended instinctual behavior and embraced complex cooperation. Communities also adapted their physical environments to enhance their nighttime security. Natural features were utilized and enhanced. Dense thickets, rock outcroppings, and river bends formed natural barriers and lookout points. Evidence from archaeological sites shows that early humans constructed simple defensive works, palisades made from sharpened sticks or thorny bushes arranged to slow or deter attackers. These fortifications, though primitive, represented a profound shift. Humans were no longer passive victims of the night, but active shapers of their environment, bending nature to their will in the service of survival. The use of fire extended beyond its defensive properties. Nighttime gatherings around flames fostered social cohesion and facilitated the exchange of ideas. Here, innovations were shared and debated. New hunting techniques, tool improvements, and ways to exploit the night's unique opportunities. The glow of firelight illuminated faces marked by determination and hope, revealing a collective resolve to overcome the perils that threatened to consume them. These communal experiences nurtured empathy and emotional bonds, essential elements for cooperation. The night, with all its terror, also became a space where human connections deepened, where individuals found reassurance not only in the flicker of firelight, but in the presence of others. This social fabric, woven in the dark, would prove resilient against the harshest trials. The rise of community and cooperation under the stars was not merely a survival mechanism, it was a defining moment in human evolution. By learning to work together in the face of existential threats, prehistoric humans laid the groundwork for the complex societies that would emerge millennia later. Their ability to organize, communicate, and share resources transformed them from vulnerable creatures into masters of their fate. The shadowed nights of prehistory were thus crucibles of social innovation. They challenged individuals to transcend self-interest, fostering interdependence that became a hallmark of humanity. Each shared watch, each coordinated hunt, and every story told by firelight contributed to the emergence of a collective identity rooted in survival and solidarity. If the story of how early humans forged alliances in the darkest hours moves you, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. These echoes from the night reveal not just our ancestors' struggle, but the very essence of what it means to be human, resilient, resourceful, and profoundly connected. As dawn breaks over the ancient lands, the communities that face the night together endure in our shared heritage, reminding us that in unity, even the darkest threats can be overcome. The night, once a relentless adversary, has left an indelible mark on the human story, etched not only in ancient memories but woven into the very fabric of our biology, culture, and psyche. The struggles faced by prehistoric humans against the dangers lurking in darkness were not isolated episodes, but foundational experiences that shaped the trajectory of our species in profound and lasting ways. From the earliest flickers of firelight to the intricate social structures that arose around nocturnal survival, the night was a crucible in which humanity's greatest capacities were forged. It demanded vigilance, cooperation, and ingenuity, qualities that would become central to our success. But beyond immediate survival, the challenges of darkness left deeper legacies, echoes that resonate through millennia. Biologically, the night's threats influenced human evolution. The pressures of avoiding nocturnal predators favored individuals with keen senses attuned to subtle cues, a rustle of leaves, a distant growl, or the sudden snap of a twig. Our ancestors developed acute hearing, refined night vision aided by the eye's natural rod cells, and heightened reflexes. These sensory adaptations, honed in the shadows, remain with us today, underlying our ability to navigate both physical and social complexities. Moreover, The necessity of cooperation in the face of night's dangers accelerated the development of communication. Language, in all its richness, owes much to the shared needs of early humans to coordinate, warn, and reassure one another after sundown. The whispered words around campfires, the gestures exchanged in near darkness, and the rituals that bound communities together formed the bedrock of human connection. These early exchanges laid the foundation for culture itself, a vast, evolving tapestry of stories, knowledge, and beliefs passed down through generations. Culturally, the night has been a source of both fear and fascination, inspiring myths, legends, and rituals that speak to our ancestors' attempts to make sense of the unknown. Many of the gods and spirits revered or feared in ancient religions embodied the mysteries of darkness, the ambivalent forces that could either protect or destroy. These narratives served dual purposes: to impose order on the chaos of night and to unite communities in shared belief and practice. Fire rituals, dances, and ceremonies performed under the cover of darkness were as much about reinforcing social bonds as about appeasing supernatural forces. They created spaces where fear could be transformed into courage, where individuals could find strength in collective identity. The very act of gathering after sunset became a statement of defiance against the primal terrors of the night, a celebration of human resilience and unity. This cultural heritage also influenced the rhythms of daily life. Human societies developed patterns of activity that balanced the risks and rewards of night and day. While daylight was reserved for labor, hunting, and exploration, the night became a time for rest, storytelling, and socialization, a division of time that persists in various forms to this day. Even the concept of time itself, segmented into cycles of light and dark, reflects this ancient relationship. Technological innovation, too, was spurred by the challenges of night. The mastery of fire was only the beginning. Humans developed tools and strategies to extend their influence beyond daylight. The crafting of torches, the construction of shelters offering protection from nocturnal predators, and eventually the creation of artificial light sources reflect an ongoing struggle to tame darkness. These innovations exemplify humanity's relentless drive to overcome limitations and reshape the environment. The psychological impact of the night's dangers also reverberates in the human mind. The primal fears awakened by darkness, of unseen threats and the unknown, are deeply embedded in our collective consciousness. These fears have shaped art, literature, and even modern media, where darkness often symbolizes mystery, danger, or transformation. Our responses to night continue to reflect a dance between caution and curiosity, vulnerability and courage. Yet, perhaps the most profound legacy of battling the night lies in the emergence of trust and empathy. The act of facing unseen dangers together fostered bonds that transcended individual survival instincts. Shared vulnerability became a source of strength, compelling humans to nurture one another, to communicate needs and fears openly, and to create social systems grounded in mutual care. This foundational sociality set humanity apart from other species and paved the way for complex societies. The lessons from our ancestors' nocturnal struggles resonate today. Modern life, though removed from direct threats of predatory beasts, still grapples with the metaphorical darkness, uncertainties, fears, and the unknown challenges that test resilience. The capacity to come together, to share knowledge, and to innovate under pressure remains vital. Reflecting on these ancient echoes invites us to appreciate the depth of our connection to the past and the enduring influence of those long nights. It reminds us that human history is not merely a chronicle of events, but a continuous story of adaptation, courage, and community. If this journey through the shadows of our origins has sparked your curiosity or moved you in some way, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we honor the legacy of those who faced the night so that we might thrive in the light. As the sun rises on a new day, we carry with us the wisdom and strength born in darkness, a testament to humanity's unyielding spirit, forever shaped by the battles waged beneath the stars. In the fragile balance between survival and extinction, fire emerged as humanity's most potent weapon against the darkness. It was more than mere light and warmth. It was a symbol of control over the unknown, a bulwark against the primal fears that stalked the night. The mastery of fire was not a singular event, but a profound evolutionary and cultural milestone that transformed how prehistoric humans faced the dangers lurking after sunset. Imagine a cold, moonless night tens of thousands of years ago. The air is thick with the scent of earth and smoke. Shadows twist and merge in the flickering firelight, painting moving images on the walls of caves and shelters. Around this hearth, a small band of humans gathers, faces tense with vigilance yet bound by a shared determination. This fire does not simply illuminate their surroundings. It pushes back the predators, deters insects, and creates a perimeter of safety. Its glow offers psychological comfort, a tangible assertion of human agency in a hostile world. The technological innovation of controlling fire was a slow, arduous process. Early humans did not invent fire from nothing. They learned to harness it, kindling it from natural sources such as lightning strikes or volcanic activity, and nurturing it through careful feeding of fuel. The skill of creating fire on demand, striking stones or rubbing sticks, marked a turning point. Suddenly, fire was no longer a rare blessing but a tool that could be wielded at will, extending the day and transforming the night. With fire, the night was no longer an impenetrable void. It became a space of activity and social interaction. The hearth became the center of community life, a gathering place where stories were told, knowledge shared, and bonds forged. This communal aspect of fire use fostered social cohesion, reinforcing group identity and cooperation, critical factors in enduring the myriad dangers of the prehistoric world. Fire also revolutionized diet and health. Cooking food improved its digestibility and nutritional value while reducing pathogens. This dietary shift contributed to physiological changes in humans, such as smaller teeth and digestive tracts, freeing energy for brain development. The shared act of cooking and eating around a fire was a ritual that deepened social ties and transmitted cultural knowledge. Recipes, hunting strategies, medicinal uses of plants, and more. Moreover, fire served as a psychological deterrent to nocturnal predators. The flickering flames and smoke kept many creatures at bay, altering predator behavior and giving humans a competitive edge in the night environment. Firelight also enhanced nocturnal vision for humans, enabling better navigation and vigilance. These advantages cumulatively improved survival rates, allowing human populations to expand into new and challenging habitats. The use of fire extended beyond protection and nutrition. It became a medium for symbolic expression and cultural development. Archaeological evidence suggests that early humans used fire in ritual contexts, possibly as offerings to spirits or gods associated with night and danger. These ceremonies helped manage fear and uncertainty, providing psychological relief and a sense of control over the unpredictable. Fire's influence spread beyond immediate survival. It facilitated the expansion of human range, allowing groups to colonize colder, darker regions previously inhospitable due to the perils of night. With fire, humans could create safe refuges, venture further afield for resources, and sustain larger, more complex societies. The communal fires also became arenas for education. Elders and skilled hunters shared wisdom with the young, teaching vital survival skills, how to read the signs of approaching danger, track animals in dim light, and craft tools for both offense and defense. This intergenerational transfer of knowledge was crucial for maintaining community resilience in the face of persistent threats. But fire was not without its challenges. It demanded resources, wood, tinder, and fuel, and constant vigilance to prevent accidental destruction. Managing fire required collective effort and discipline, fostering cooperation and shared responsibility. The care of the hearth was often a communal task, symbolizing the interconnectedness of members within the group. In the broader sweep of human history, the control of fire at night symbolizes the profound transition from vulnerability to empowerment. It marks a moment when humans transformed darkness from a source of terror into an arena for cultural growth and social innovation. Fire was a catalyst that enabled humans to shape their environment rather than be shaped by it. This mastery of fire and the social structures built around it laid the groundwork for future technological advancements, lighting systems, shelters, weapons, and set the stage for the development of complex civilizations. The lessons learned in the dance of flames and shadows resonate through time, reminding us that human ingenuity and cooperation have long been our greatest defenses against the unknown. If this exploration into the fiery heart of early human resilience has illuminated your understanding, please like, share, and subscribe. Let us continue to uncover the profound ways our ancestors conquered the night and forged the path to survival. As the ancient embers glow, so too does the spirit of humanity, ever vigilant, ever adaptive, and forever connected by the fires that guard the night. The night was not merely a physical threat to prehistoric humans. It was a profound psychological battleground where fear and uncertainty waged relentless war against survival instincts and social cohesion. In the absence of modern understanding or technology, the unknown lurking beyond the flickering firelight shaped the very fabric of early human existence. This shadowy realm was as dangerous for the mind as it was for the body, forcing our ancestors to confront and conquer not just predators, but the intangible terror that darkness brought. To grasp the depth of this psychological struggle, we must step into the mindscape of prehistoric humans as dusk folded over the land. Imagine the weight of silence interrupted only by the crackling of flames, the occasional distant howl, or the rustle of unseen movement in the bushes. For early humans, these moments stirred primal fears, unknown creatures, unseen enemies, the possibility of death itself. Unlike daylight, when sight and sound allowed for assessment and control, the night masked threats, amplifying anxiety and elevating stress. Fear in this context was not irrational. It was a vital survival mechanism finely tuned by evolution. It heightened alertness, quickened reflexes, and mobilized the community for defense or flight. Yet, fear could also fracture groups, sow mistrust, and paralyze decision-making. The challenge was to harness fear, to transform it from a disabling force into a motivator for preparation, vigilance, and cooperation. Early humans developed psychological strategies to manage this fear, often embedded within their cultural and social practices. Rituals surrounding fire and night were not only about warding off physical threats, but also served to contain and give shape to intangible anxieties. Storytelling, song, and myth-telling around the hearth created narratives that explained the dangers of the dark, personifying predators as spirits or gods. These stories provided a framework to understand and negotiate the unknown, allowing communities to share fears collectively and turn them into shared knowledge and cautionary wisdom. The communal experience of night also reinforced social bonds. Huddled together, humans found strength not only in numbers, but in the psychological comfort of shared vigilance. This collective presence diluted individual fear, distributing responsibility and fostering a sense of safety. The night thus became a crucible for social cohesion, a testing ground where trust and mutual dependence were forged in the face of uncertainty. Sleep itself was fraught with peril. Unlike today's secure bedrooms and artificial lighting, prehistoric humans faced nights filled with interruptions from sounds, smells, and shadows. Sleep cycles were likely segmented and light, with periods of alertness interspersed to detect approaching danger. Such sleep patterns, while protective, exacted a toll on physical recovery and cognitive function, demanding remarkable resilience and adaptability. Dreams, too, held psychological significance. In many early cultures, dreams were interpreted as messages from the spirit world, warnings of threats, or glimpses into the unknown. These interpretations shaped behaviors and preparations for the coming day and night, weaving the psychological landscape with the practical realities of survival. The persistent psychological tension of night influenced human evolution beyond immediate survival. It drove the development of sophisticated communication, emotional regulation, and problem-solving skills. Managing night fears required imagination, empathy, and foresight, traits that underpin human creativity and culture. The anxiety provoked by darkness pushed our ancestors toward innovation, cooperation, and cultural complexity. However, these psychological pressures were unevenly distributed. Vulnerable members of society, children, the elderly, the sick, faced greater risks both physically and mentally. Protecting and supporting these individuals demanded social structures that went beyond mere survival, nurturing compassion and collective responsibility. Such care contributed to the emergence of complex social networks and roles, deepening the interdependence that defined human communities. The psychological warfare of the night was also a silent force behind technological progress. The need to mitigate fear led to inventions, better shelters, protective clothing, early weapons designed for night defense, and signaling systems to communicate danger. Each innovation was not merely a practical advancement, but a psychological victory, reclaiming space in the night for human activity and reducing the overwhelming sense of vulnerability. Moreover, the experience of confronting night terrors seeded the human propensity for ritual and religion. The sacred fires, ceremonies, and taboos associated with night and darkness served to organize collective fears into structured, meaningful practices. These spiritual frameworks provided hope, order, and a sense of control over a capricious and often hostile world. In understanding the psychological dimension of prehistoric night, we recognize a fundamental truth about humanity. Our greatest battles have often been fought within, against fear and uncertainty. The shadows that haunted our ancestors were not just external threats but internal trials, tests of courage, solidarity, and ingenuity that shaped the trajectory of human development. As we reflect on this interplay of mind and survival, we see the night not as a simple obstacle, but as a profound catalyst for human growth. The darkness forced early humans to invent not only tools and strategies, but also the emotional and cultural frameworks that underpin society itself. Our ancestors' triumph over night's terrors was as much a conquest of the spirit as it was of the physical world. If this journey into the psychological shadows of prehistoric night resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Together, we'll continue to illuminate the hidden battles that have shaped humanity's enduring story. For in the heart of darkness lies the flickering spark of human resilience, an eternal flame of courage that burns still within us all. As the first light of dawn pierced the dense canopy, spilling pale gold onto the trembling earth, it marked not only the end of a long, perilous night, but the beginning of a new chapter in the grand saga of human evolution. The struggle to survive under the relentless threat of darkness and the prehistoric dangers that prowled within it was far more than a series of isolated battles. It was a crucible that forged the very essence of what it meant to be human. This legacy of nighttime survival reverberates through our biology, culture, and psyche, a testament to the indomitable spirit of our ancestors. The night had been an arena of constant danger. Enormous predators, often unseen, moved silently through shadowed forests and across open plains, their eyes gleaming in the gloom. For early humans, this was a world where vulnerability was the norm and vigilance a necessity. Yet, it was within this peril that early humans honed not only physical adaptations, but also mental faculties that would set them apart from all other species. Physiologically, the demands of nocturnal survival shaped human biology. Our ancestors developed acute senses attuned to the subtle cues of the dark, the faint rustle of leaves, the smell of predator sweat, the whisper of distant movement. While we lack the night vision of many animals, our brains became masters of pattern recognition and anticipation, filling in gaps where sight failed. This cognitive leap, projecting unseen threats and imagining consequences, was a defining milestone, underpinning the development of complex thought, planning, and even language. Sleep patterns themselves bear the imprint of this evolutionary past. Unlike the uninterrupted sleep common in modern life, prehistoric humans likely experienced segmented sleep, periods of rest punctuated by alertness to potential danger. This adaptation balanced the need for recovery with the imperative of vigilance. The interplay between rest and watchfulness became a delicate dance, shaping circadian rhythms and neurological resilience in ways we are only beginning to fully understand. The social dimensions of nighttime survival were equally profound. Darkness demanded cooperation. A solitary human in the night was vulnerable. A group, however, could share the burden of watchfulness, pool resources, and provide warmth and protection. These shared experiences fostered deep social bonds, trust, and communication, cornerstones of human societies. Rituals and traditions that arose around the hearth, including storytelling and communal vigilance, became vehicles for transmitting survival knowledge and reinforcing social cohesion. Indeed, culture itself can be seen as an outgrowth of the challenges faced under the cloak of night. Myths and legends about creatures of the dark, spirits, and protective deities emerged not simply from imagination, but as frameworks for understanding and managing the unknown. These narratives provided psychological comfort and practical guidance, shaping behaviors that enhanced survival. The firelight, dancing on cave walls, illuminated more than physical space. It illuminated the human mind's first steps toward abstract thought and shared meaning. Technology, too, was shaped by the necessity of surviving night dangers. The creation of fire for light and warmth was revolutionary, transforming the night from a realm of pure terror to a space where humans could assert some measure of control. Early weapons and defensive structures evolved in response to the threats of darkness, demonstrating the dynamic interplay between environment and innovation. Each advance was a small victory, pushing back the shadows and expanding the horizon of human activity. As human populations grew and environments changed, these adaptations laid the groundwork for more complex societies and, eventually, civilizations. The rhythms established in prehistoric times, the balance of risk and rest, the fusion of cooperation and individual vigilance, echo in the customs, religions, and social structures of historic peoples. Even today, our fears and fascinations with the night trace their lineage back to these ancient struggles. Moreover, the psychological legacy of nighttime survival remains deeply embedded within us. Our brains retain a sensitivity to darkness and uncertainty, a cautiousness inherited from ancestors who could not afford complacency. The fear of the dark, the allure of light, and the rituals we create around these experiences are not merely cultural artifacts, but living connections to our evolutionary journey. This enduring legacy challenges us to reflect on the profound ways in which our past shapes our present. It reminds us that human resilience is not solely measured by conquest or progress, but by the continuous negotiation between vulnerability and strength, between fear and courage. The night, with all its dangers and mysteries, was a relentless teacher, and humanity's capacity to learn, adapt, and transcend these shadows is among our greatest triumphs. As we close this exploration into the prehistoric battle against darkness and the dinosaur threat, we stand in awe of the courage, ingenuity, and spirit that carried humanity through the deepest shadows. The story of our ancestors' struggle is not simply a tale of survival, but a foundation for understanding the complexities of human nature itself, our fears, our hopes, and our relentless drive to illuminate the unknown. If this journey into the heart of darkness and human perseverance has moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we keep alive the stories that connect us to our roots, inspiring us to face our own shadows with courage and wisdom. For in every dawn that breaks, there is the echo of those who first dared to confront the night, and in their legacy, we find the light that guides us still.